In this movie, I'll walk you through the process of upsampling a photographic image inside Photoshop. Now, as I was saying, normally I am not a fan of upsampling, and the reason is that you cannot possibly generate new detail. Photoshop cannot see anything that wasn't there in the original photograph. The only way to get more detail is to recapture the shot at the highest resolution associated with your scanner or digital camera. But every once in a while, you run into an image that cannot be recaptured, such as this one here. This is Buzz Aldrin as photographed by Neil Armstrong on the surface of the moon. It's not the kind of image you're likely to capture anytime soon, and neither is anyone else. So if we want to make the image larger, we have no choice but to upsample it. The good news is that Photoshop is as adept at upsampling images as is humanly possible. And to do so, go to the image menu and choose the image size command. And then notice that this image measures 14 inches square, which is a pretty good size, but it has a very low resolution of just 100 pixels per inch. I want to upsample it, so I'm going to turn on the resample checkbox, and then I'm going to switch from automatic to preserve details, and then I'm going to dial in a resolution value of 300 pixels per inch. And we end up with this initial result here, assuming that the interpolation is set to automatic. Now, just to get a sense of why this setting is so much better, let's go ahead and test out a few of the others. This is nearest neighbor. So if I go ahead and select it, we're going to end up with these big pixels. And I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit so we can see him even more closely. So just big, chunky pixels and nothing more. That's all nearest neighbor does. Obviously, that's not what we want. Now, back in CS6 and earlier, the default setting was this guy right there, bicubic smoother, which is about as far from preserved details as you get. Notice if I choose bicubic smoother, that does soften the transitions, but it also makes them blurry, which is in no way, shape, or form what we want. And even switching to bicubic sharper doesn't make that big of a difference. And notice, I'll go ahead and zoom in some more here. We're starting to get some weird blocky pixel transitions right there. Compare that to preserve details, which is the new automatic setting. So I'll go ahead and choose preserve details. And what's great about it is it offers a little additional control. And so you can see as soon as I choose the option, I get this reduce noise slider. But what's more to the point here, I'll go ahead and switch back to bicubic sharper so I stop distracting you. Keep your eyes over here on the edge of the helmet. Notice how we have these blocky pixel transitions. As soon as I switch to preserve details, they smooth right up. And the reason is that preserve details offers shape analysis. And so it's able to recognize rounded edges, as we're seeing right here, as well as these diagonal stripes and other transitions that, as I was saying, do not lend themselves to square pixels. Now, one of the things about this particular photo is it was shot with film and it suffers a lot of grain. So in other words, it's noisy, which is where reduced noise comes in. So notice if I crank that value up, we start to smooth away that noise. And really what we want, where this image is concerned, because it's so very noisy, is a maximum reduced noise value of 100%. And I want you to see what a difference this makes. Keep your eye here on the right arm, at least the arm on the right-hand side. This is what it looks like in the sort of flat area when reduced noise is set to 0. So we've got all kinds of choppy grain. And this is what it looks like when it's set to 100% instead. That grain very nearly goes away. Another area to look at is this brown region right here near the bottom of the helmet. So we have this real detail right here in the center, but right in this area is just a bunch of grain. So if I set reduce noise once again to 0, a lot of that grain comes back. See all that stuff that's going on right there? And then if I raise it to 100%, that noise gets smoothed away. Now, for those of you who know a thing or two about noise, this reduce noise slider is specifically getting rid of luminance noise. That is random variations between the brightness of neighboring pixels. It does not do anything to color noise. All right, however, it's important to bear in mind that we are not inventing detail. So whether we're looking at the image set to nearest neighbor just by blowing up the pixels, as is the case when I click and hold inside the preview, or whether it's set to preserve details, this outline of Neil Armstrong right here looks like a complete and total blob. So there's just nothing we can do about that. All right, now I'm going to click OK in order to upsample this image. Initially, it's going to seem as though I've totally wrecked everything, but that's because we're looking at the upper left corner of the image. If I zoom back out, you can see that we have a very sharp image indeed. So what I'm going to do here is press Shift F to fill the screen with the image, and I'm going to zoom on in as well. And if you want to really prove it to yourself how great this image looks at this size, go ahead and print it out. It looks like it's just absolutely riddled with detail, even though it's really just a function of averaging the existing pixels in the image using the preserve detail setting, which is far and away the best way to upsample photographic images here inside Photoshop.